So on Illustrator, we're going to be working with either A4 or A3. You're going to click on New File, so you can create a new document, and you select A3 or A4. It doesn't matter that much because we're not working with pixels, we're working with vector, so vector does not lose quality when you stretch or when you're working with smaller sizes. It does not affect that much. So A3, we select landscape and already give it a name, Calligram. You can either, this you can leave as it is and click on create, so you get your document in here. If this is the size that works for you, fine. If you want to change the size, you can always change by clicking on the artboard tool on the side here. Again, if you don't have your workspace like mine, you can always change your workspace by going to Window and Workspace and select Essentials Classic. This is the workspace I'm using right now. And if you can't see your workspace like mine, it's probably because you're not using the Essentials Classic. If you are using Essentials Classic and yours is a bit different, you just need to reset Essentials Classic and you'll get exactly what I have right now. So can you... Okay, so Photoshop, every time you want to create a new layer, you have to manually go and create a new layer. In here, you don't need to create multiple layers because each object, they will work independently. So they're not gonna be stuck together like it would be on Photoshop. So the tool that we're going to be using today is the pencil tool. So you find exactly where the sharper tool, you just have to click and hold and then change to pencil tool. That's the main tool that we're going to be using today. If you want to attempt using the pen tool, you can. It's just that the pen tool is a bit more advanced. So we're going to stick to pencil tool. The second tool that we're going to be using is the type tool or the text tool. And obviously, as always, we use the selection tool to move things around so you can arrange. Also, you need to change on the side here. You have properties, you have library, but I also want you to be able to see the layers. The layers are not here right now, but you can find it if you click on this icon. So if you click here, you find the layers. But it opens this box in a very odd position because it's right in the middle of my area that I'm working here. So what I will do is you're able to adjust the panels the way you want. So you have all those modules. You just have to find a spot where your mouse is not on top of those tabs. So you can't be on top of those tabs. You just have to click, hold, and you can move this around. And by doing so, I want you to move it here in this area that it's empty. If you go down to the point where you start seeing a blue bar, do you see a blue bar in here? When I move it down here and the blue bar appears, it's saying that it's gonna attach that module in there. You could put on the side here, it wouldn't look good because it would expand. We want to put it down. So now you see that the layers is attached there. So okay, so your workspace should be similar to mine right now, where you have all the tools here on the side, you have all the properties for each tool on top, and you also have layers in here and the properties of the document. So as I mentioned before, on Photoshop, if you're drawing, everything is gonna be attached to that layer and it will be stuck together. In here, each object works independently. So for example, if I draw a line here, then I draw a second line, you can see that each line works as an object. I can move it around and they're not attached together. Let's draw a shape. Sorry. Let's draw a shape. And everything will be separated within this layer here. So I don't need to create multiple layers unless you have different for different objects. You could then create different layers, but everything is within that layer, so you just have to click the arrow and it will open all the objects that it's inside of that layer. Another thing that you have to keep in mind, that you have two different color properties. The first one is the color fill. Okay, so this is fill, and then the second one is the stroke, is the color outside. So the color inside, the color outside of the shape. Okay, so if you're working with line, then it would be the stroke only. You don't have color fill for a line. But if you're working with shapes, you also have the color fill. Okay, does that make sense? So just to give you an example, if I create a shape here, like an organic shape, finish. Right now, this shape, if I select if I click outside, you can see that the shape has an outline, but it doesn't have a color fill. So I'll click on the shape and I'll click on the color fill and select the color I want. Now if you want this outline to be another color, you can pick another color from here. You can see that it's blue, but that means that that object is actually selected. If I click outside, you can see that it's actually green now. If you want to increase the thickness of the stroke, it's on the properties on top. So every tool whenever you click on an object, this will change according to the properties that you can change to the object. So let's make it thicker, and as you can see, it got thicker in there. The color in here you can also change to either solid color, gradient color, and there are several properties, but you won't need that for this lesson. I'm just explaining a bit for you to understand how Illustrator works. So today we're not going to be using any color, because those lines, they actually need to be fully transparent with no color. We're just using that to guide our text. So our text is going to follow the lines. So let's click on the outline in here and click on none. So outline, I don't want the stroke. Color fill, I don't want it. As I mentioned before, we're going to be using the pencil. So you're going to draw your strokes, and this is called a path. Okay, so this is the path that the text will follow. Once you have that, you can click on the type tool, and you're going to select where you want the text to start. So if you click in the middle here, the text will start there. But since you drew all the way here, it means that you want to start from here, right? So you start from the beginning. So your text goes all the way. You could leave it like that. That would be perfect already. This is what the artist does. They only change the color. That's all they've done. If you want to be a bit more elaborated, you could change the font. Again, when you click on an object, you get all the properties for that object on top. So you could select a different font. You could select a different size for the font. And there are other properties in here you can play with. You could also select one word and just increase the size of that word. So it's up to you. Okay, created the first one, you just have to carry on creating all the paths and adding text to it until you get the shape that you want. Okay, so a good way to make it easier for you is for you to have a silhouette image of something already. So if you go on Google and then silhouette of wall, of a bird, for example, silhouette of a bird. So you find the perfect one for you to create. Let's say you want to do this one. Then you just have to copy the image. So you've got your image in here. I don't need this image to be fully visible like this, so I'll reduce the opacity. That's under properties. So if you reduce the opacity in here, because I don't want to see this black as this strong, right? Otherwise it will get you confused where the colors are actually like filled with the text. So reduce as much as I can. I still can see, but it's very transparent. I think something around 4% should be fine. 5. And also I will lock this object. So you have the object in here. Actually, let's not lock yet. Let's make it bigger. And on Photoshop, or on Illustrator, is a bit different than Photoshop. You have to hold Shift in order for you to keep the proportion of the image. So hold Shift on your keyboard when you're stretching, when you're changing the size of an image. Okay, good. Place it there, lock, so I don't accidentally move this. And you can start doing, creating your lines. You could either do it around or do like the artist does. Just keep in mind that if you have an image that is small, you have to change the size of the text as well, so you get the details. Okay, so let's do it one more time. Text, then you add the text in here. So you have to repeat this so many times that the text is condensed and you can see the image.